everyone here today. Going to recognize Justin, the speakers who are here today at this podium. We have congressional colleagues, we have health activists, and particularly we have patients who are here to tell their own stories. And we all say to them, thank you for the courage to speak out and tell your story. It is so critical to do that. I also want to acknowledge our fierce leader of Planned Parenthood, Cecile Richards, who is over in the hearing room, and she's knocking it out of the park. Knocking it out of the park. So, you are all here at what a critical time for women and for their families. On this day of action, rallies around the country, you show how deeply the American people care about women's health. You are engaging members of Congress. You are standing up to right-wing extremists who are so blinded by their opposition to health care for low-income Americans that they are willing to shut down the federal government. The last time they caused a shutdown was because of the Affordable Care Act. You think there's something about health care that they're not much interested in? Today, their target is Planned Parenthood. And while we may have averted a shutdown for right now, we know all too well that we will be right back here in December. Just mark my words, this is coming up again in December. And when we ought to be spending our time on looking at creating jobs and making sure that people have enough wages to live on, they are forcing a shutdown because of their own political ideology and their lack of respect for women and the choices they make on their health care decisions. Today, we have the attacks from the extreme right that continue unabated. Last week, the House Republican majority tried to take funding from Planned Parenthood. Now they are trying to do the same thing through procedural maneuvers, which they are attempting to attach to the repeal for the Affordable Care Act. Over the weekend, they announced yet another so-called select committee to attack women's health. And today, the House will vote on a bill that would remove Medicaid funds from any organization remotely connected with any abortion provider. And then they have the gall to call this horribly dangerous legislation the Women's Public Health and Safety Act. With these attacks, the right-wing assault on reproductive freedom has become an all-out war on the health and the well-being of millions of Americans, because each year, Planned Parenthood provides 2.7 million people with life-saving services, pap smears, breast exams, screenings for sexually transmitted infections. And for many low-income families, Planned Parenthood is their only way of receiving these services. The president of the American Congress of OBGYNs, Dr. Mark DeFrancesco, said, and I quote, "If Planned Parenthood went away, there's a good number of patients just in my service that will no longer have a doctor." Is this the kind of a nation that we want to be? You know as well as anyone that the stakes could not be higher, that lives are on the line, and that is why I am so glad that you are here. Congress may not listen to reasoned arguments, but it does listen to pressure from the outside. And I have right here the petition signatures, 2 million signatures that support our cause, which are going to be delivered to members of Congress, delivered over the course of today. That's the kind of a powerful message that gets people's attention. And we know the American people are with us on this one. Nearly 7 in 10 support us. So do even a majority of Republicans. So keep on fighting for what we know is right. And as you make your rounds today, do not take no for an answer. And I want to say a thank you to all of the advocates involved in putting this petition together today. and for making today a great success. And why you're here and why not to take no for an answer is because what is at stake are women's lives. And there's nothing more important to fight for when you're fighting for people's lives. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you. All right. Oh my God, look at all my colleagues. You should.
Sure.
Okay. Let me Dawn, and then what we're going to do, and I want to apologize to others because I know there are going to be votes, is to get my colleagues to have the opportunity to make their voices heard, and we'll just go down the line. Dawn Legans is the Executive Vice President of Planned Parenthood. You've seen her on the news defending the life-saving work that Planned Parenthood does around the country. She led the campaigns to defeat the Pence Amendment, to reverse Susan G. Coleman's decision to stop funding Planned Parenthood affiliates. And with the caliber and the experience that we have in Dawn, we are going to be able to do this. Dawn, go ahead.
Hey, thank you, Rosa. Yep. I just want to come and welcome all of you and thank you. And as Rosa said, Cecile Richards is sitting in the Rayburn building in front of bullies and listening to Bull over there. And she is going into hour 4. So I just want to take a minute and say, let's take our pink and our purple and our blue and our orange and our black and white and send her a lot of great energy over there while she is testifying and standing up for reproductive rights, health, freedom, and justice in this country on behalf of all of us. So thanks for Cecile. I want to say thanks to these congressional champions who have, one of them I think just came from the hearing herself, where she devastated the opposition by pointing out the absolute fallacies in their arguments. And so we just thank our champions so much. So another round of applause for them. Allies, I want to call out some of the many allies who are here: NARAL, URGE, Credo, Move On, People for the American Way, NOW, Latina Institute, I think. I've seen tons. These pink boxes are all the colors that are related here, are captured here. This is our joint work together. We are a unified community. We are going forward all over this country. There are hundreds of events. There are millions of people turning the internet pink. And this is, as Cecile would say, we've been to this rodeo before, so we know what to do. And I just thank each and every one of you for being here today, for standing with Planned Parenthood, because we do stand with women and men, and that's why we exist, and that's why we're all here. Thank you, Rosa. Thank you, champions. Let's go.
Dawn, thank you. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of this country's foremost advocates for women's health, our colleague and our friend, Leader Nancy Pelosi. And because of her, wait, hang on, always hang. Listen, it's her visionary leadership as Speaker of the House of Representatives, and it's because of her that we have the Affordable Care Act today with all of its benefits for women and for all Americans. She's not afraid to ever stand up and make a fight. Our colleague, our leader, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Rosa. I was trying to cut your introduction short because my remarks will be short because we have many people to hear from. We stand here in solidarity with Planned Parenthood. Yep. It's an honor to be with all of you, with the organizations, with the individuals, with my members of Congress. And it's not about courage. It's just about doing what is right for the American people. It's really important for the public to know 2.6 million women receive services from Planned Parenthood. Around 500,000 breast exams, 370 Pap tests, and all that means in terms of good health. But let me just put this in a little bit of a perspective following Rosa's lead. They want to shut down the government to shut down Planned Parenthood. And what does that mean? It means they're so obsessed with depriving women of their respect that they deserve about their health, their families, their privacy, but also that they're willing to lose jobs. Over 100,000 lost when they shut down government before, $25 billion lost to our economy. So my friends, this is about Planned Parenthood, but it's about also undermining not only the respect for women, but undermining our economy, about jobs, about investments in transportation and keeping government open and not depriving people with disabilities and the rest of their respect that they deserve, about 30% of the workforce being veterans. They want to shut all of that down, so obsessed are they with Planned Parenthood. But the consequences go well beyond Planned Parenthood, and this is the message we must deliver to the American people. It's about jobs, it's about investments in the future, it's about respect for our veterans, it's about respect for our children, our seniors, and everyone else who has any interaction with the government. So thank you, Planned Parenthood, for being willing to take the hit, to go out there to make the fight. And weren't we proud of Cecile Richards? Aren't we proud of her every day? So are we all here in solidarity as one with Planned Parenthood? Let's hear it for Rosa DeLauro once again at the microphone.
Hi, I'm Doris Matsui from California, and I love all this pink here. Thank you so much. All of us are going into our closets to find the pink because it's really important to stand out and stand up for Planned Parenthood. I want to say that I stand with all of you and my colleagues and the millions of American women and men who receive essential health services from Planned Parenthood. These past few weeks have been unbearable, I know, and I compliment all of you. We've withstood attack after attack, baseless attack on women and their access to health care. These attacks are nothing more than a political stunt, and we know that. But this affects people's lives. And adding insult to injury, the bills Republicans have put before us would unfairly target low-income women and their families who rely on the Medicaid program. We've made great strides. We know that in health care with the Affordable Care Act. But now we're going to take that away? No, we're not at all. I urge Congress, and I know you will too, to put aside partisan politics and to ensure that all women, regardless of their income, can get the quality care that they need from the provider of their choice. That is absolutely essential. I love having you all out here. We all stand with you, and we have many other members of Congress here to speak. So thank you very much for being here.
Are we ready to tell the American people that we will not let anyone shut Planned Parenthood down? And I see our leader and Rosa DeLauro. We have been fighting this fight for too long, and it's just a cynical attack on women's health. Today, it seems, we'll take up a bill to fund the government tomorrow that won't force a shutdown over funding for women's health care. But I never underestimate the ability of the extremists within the House Republican Party to do the wrong thing. Even after forcing out the speaker, even after they already passed a bill to defund Planned Parenthood that we know the president won't sign, and even after the Senate failed to pass a bill to cut Planned Parenthood's essential services, we're going to take another vote in the House this week to defund Planned Parenthood. And if we avoid a shutdown tomorrow, we will have an absurd special committee to continue the attacks on Planned Parenthood for months to come. Is this a waste of time? Is this a waste of taxpayer money? Yes. It is. We have work to do for the American people. We should be here creating jobs, putting people to work, really repair our highways, our tunnels, our roads, our bridges. That's what we should be doing. Getting people to school, sending kids to college. We have a lot of work to do. We're not going to allow them to shut down Planned Parenthood. They're just wasting their time.
We're going to make that clear. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Ruben Gallego from Congressional District 7 of Arizona, and I'm here strongly standing behind Planned Parenthood. It's my pleasure to be here. I think this is ridiculous that we're even having this conference. This is a manufactured issue created by an organization that had the agenda to destroy Planned Parenthood. And I think they finally realized that that is not going to happen because of all the strong people, the strong women standing here. Planned Parenthood will last and will survive. But the one thing I know that's not manufactured, especially for Arizona, that 1 in 5 women in this country has relied at one point or another on Planned Parenthood. I hope we remember that. And more importantly, or just as important, at least for me, in 2013, 22% of Planned Parenthood patients were Latinas. And then lastly, just in Arizona alone, something that's dear to me, more than 60,000 patients were treated by Planned Parenthood. We know that that Planned Parenthood has a special place when it comes to the health care of women. And without it, and I know specifically in my neighborhoods, there would be a large void. So when they try to bring up these manufactured videos, let's remind them that the real damage would be caused by them trying to shut down an organization that is one of the few organizations that operates in our neighborhoods that take care of women, especially minority women. So with that, I strongly stand behind Planned Parenthood, and I will be here to make sure that Planned Parenthood shall last. Thank you.
I'm Mark Vesey, State Congressman from Congressional District 33 in Texas, and it is great to be with you. Great to be with you today. And I stand here to say, let's keep it open. Let's keep it open. Let's make sure that we do everything we can to continue to fund Planned Parenthood because they do important things, not only in our country, but I want to talk about some personal things in the district that I represent and in my state. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this issue is that in 2011, Governor Perry and the Republican legislature voted to remove Planned Parenthood from the Women's Health Program, and it had a devastating effect on our state. Previously, this joint effort, combined with the federal government, only cost Texans 10 cents for every dollar spent. But now, Texas taxpayers are paying 100% of the costs for a less effective program. Also, I represent part of Dallas County, and in Dallas County, we have some of the highest teen pregnancy rates in the entire country. I have seen the devastation of teen pregnancy and unplanned pregnancies in my own family. I have an aunt right now that is raising 2 of her great-grandchildren. And without programs like Planned Parenthood, we will never be able to reach those teen moms. We'll never be able to reach those young women that may not be ready for the realities of what parenthood is all about, and Planned Parenthood helps people just like that. The current crisis level in my state of Texas that poor women face could soon be facing women across the country if Republicans are successful. So instead of trying to shut down the government, we need to be doing everything we can to make sure that women in the district that I represent and all across the country are taken care of when it comes to health care. And so on this National Pink Out Day, let's stand up for all women and their families, for women who need affordable contraception, for women whose life could be saved through preventive screenings, for poor women, for immigrant women. Let's stand up for all women and all families, and let's stand up for those who think a lack of information and resources won't have an impact on women nationwide. Planned Parenthood stands up for these women, and I'm proud to stand with Planned Parenthood today.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a member of Congress representing the great state of Florida. Florida's in the House, and more importantly, I stand before you this afternoon with my sisters and brothers in the fight to stand up and be a strong voice for women's health care as a mother, as a member of Congress, and as a breast cancer survivor. Because Republicans all across this country, from Washington, D.C. to my home state of Florida in Governor Rick Scott, are threatening the lives over videos that independent experts have consistently and repeatedly called heavily edited. Those wishing to defund Planned Parenthood argue this isn't an attack on women's health. Ha! They don't think that this would hurt the health of women and families in America. But we all know that they are dead wrong. And we know that because we've watched this movie before. We've seen this movie play out all across the country, as Mark Vesey just mentioned, in Texas. Just to make sure we underscore that point. When they defunded Planned Parenthood, it led to tens of thousands of women not getting care. In Tennessee, when they defunded Planned Parenthood, it led to a 1,400% drop in services, most of which were women's preventative health services. And community health centers nationwide, mark my words, have made it very clear that if Medicaid is no longer able to provide health care services through organizations that provide abortion services, there is no possible way that they can absorb the millions of women who will need to go to those community health centers to get their care. This is not what I want for the 7,000 South Floridians relying on the Pembroke Pines Clinic in my district, not what I want for my daughters, not what I want for my sister survivors, and all the sisters who are ultimately able to catch their breast cancer early because they have a chance to go to a Planned Parenthood clinic for a clinical exam, for a breast exam, to get referred for mammography. We need Planned Parenthood. The 2.7 million women annually who get their care from a Planned Parenthood clinic need to make sure that care remains there. Stephanie Ann Diaz, a young woman from South Florida who needs that care, is here today to talk about that from South Florida, and we are all here. You have turned on a dime and come here at a moment's notice because we know that women across this country need us to stand up and lend our voices and unite our voices together to lock elbows and make sure that not only do we not shut down the government, but we make sure that Planned Parenthood and the health care that they provide all across this country is able to be provided seamlessly to millions of women from now on, forever and ever. Thank you so much.
Hi, shout out to Planned Parenthood. Yes, I'm Lois Capps, and I'm from the Central Coast of California. And before I came to Congress, I was a school nurse, and I worked closely with teen parents whose education was disrupted by an unplanned pregnancy. These students had such promise, but they were faced with the difficult role of balancing their responsibilities as a parent and as a student, often limiting their opportunities. We know it doesn't have to be this way. Comprehensive sex education, access to a wide range of birth control options, these are things that Planned Parenthood brings to my community and yours. They are exactly the types of interventions that prevent unintended pregnancies and the needs for abortion from happening in the first place. As a woman, a healthcare professional, a member of Congress, we have seen politicians again and again try to interfere with the important decisions women need to make with their health providers. It has to stop. We need to trust women and their providers to make their own medical decisions. We need to stop these partisan games, get to work on real policies to support women and families. Now let's bring up Jan Schakowsky from Chicago.
Thank you. Thank you. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky from the 9th District of Illinois. You know, the Republicans think that they can put us on the defensive right now. Of course, they're not just after Planned Parenthood. In their budget, they eliminated Title X, family planning altogether. They cut the teen pregnancy prevention program by 80%. They are after all women. Well, we have news for them. We can go on offensive. Our sisters and our allied brothers, people who care about parenthood, we are all together in this fight. Let's remember, women are the majority in the United States of America. Women are the majority of voters in the United States of America. Elections matter. We can take this to the Republicans. We can win elections. We can get rid of these people who hate women, who hate our health care, and who want to take away our rights. So we need to be on offense. We need to be fighters. We need to be as strong as you look today. Let's go get them, Planned Parenthood.
I'm Suzanne Bonamici from the great and very pro-choice state of Oregon. And I am here to say I stand with Planned Parenthood, as do my constituents in Oregon, where we understand that the people who should be making reproductive health care decisions are not the people behind us in this building. It is the women and their families and their health care providers who should be making their own reproductive health care decisions. So I'm here to stand with Planned Parenthood and all of you today to say that not only are we not going to shut down Planned Parenthood, we're not going to shut down the government over this. We're going to keep standing with Planned Parenthood. It's beautiful to see such a great big sea of pink today. And let's all say, keep standing with Planned Parenthood so we can have our families actually plan their parenthood. Thank you.
I'm Jerry Nadler of New York. We're going to be voting. We're going to be voting this week on 2 Republican bills to cut off federal funding for all of Planned Parenthood's 700 clinics, because some of them allow for research on fetal tissue. Now, that's the excuse. The reality is the bills say that no organization that performs abortions or that refers to abortions, that refers women to someplace else to get an abortion, may get federal funding. So this really has nothing to do with the fetal tissue. It's another excuse to say American women have no rights to control their own reproduction, and never mind what the Supreme Court said about the Constitution. And what is the excuse? The excuse is that Planned Parenthood is allegedly selling fetal tissue. Now, we know that's not true. We know that's not true. We know that the tapes that supposedly show this are the products of liars and a long line of liars. But they're also saying, they're making us try to feel that there's something wrong with fetal tissue research, with research or medical treatment based on fetal tissue. I want to say there is nothing wrong with it. It is praiseworthy. If an adult or a child unfortunately dies, we think it is a good thing if their organs are used to save someone's lives, or if their tissues are used for medical research or to save someone's lives. If a fetus dies, it is a good thing if the tissue from that fetus can help save other people's lives. There is no different. So we stand with that, and we will not permit this threat to Planned Parenthood and this threat to American women and to their medical treatment. It must not be permitted just because a bunch of extremists who have no regard for women or their health have a majority in one house. Thank you.
I'm Jackie Spear from California, and we are thrilled that you are here today. Let's have 3 hip hip hoorays for Cecile Richards. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Planned Parenthood is alive and well, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that Planned Parenthood stays alive and well forever, because over 2.7 million women use the services of Planned Parenthood every single year. 865,000 of them seek Planned Parenthood for breast cancer screenings, for STDs, and for contraception services. And of those, 86,000 of them are identified as having a form of cancer as a result of having had the good luck and good fortune to come to Planned Parenthood for services. This woman here is Colleen from Albany, New York, 27 years old, who was between jobs, went to Planned Parenthood, and was discovered to have stage 2 breast cancer. She is alive today because of Planned Parenthood, and we will continue to make sure that that's the case. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Brenda Lawrence from Michigan. I cover Detroit. I'm here today. I just left the hearing where she's going on hour 4, Miss Richards. Ladies and gentlemen, I was told something as a child from my grandmother, that the truth will set you free. It seems like our Republican partners or our Republican colleagues are held hostage to lies, to mistruths. And we have the opportunity collectively to set the record straight. Planned Parenthood addresses those of us in our country who do not have access. When we talk about breast cancer screening, minorities, African American, Latinos die at a higher rate than any other minority group of women because they don't have access to good health care. We are addressing and attacking that. We must stand up and tell the truth, because at the end of the day, we will not allow those who want to use their own narrow-mindedness, their ability to shut down rights for women, and with untruths. We will stand and we will tell the truth, and we will win. Let's stand together. Thank you all for being here.
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Lee from the great state of California. And first of all, I'm proud to be pinked out today and to stand with Planned Parenthood. Thank you so much. Make no mistake, and you know this, Republican attempts to defund Planned Parenthood are simply a continuation of their war on women and their campaign to strip women of their constitutional rights to make health care decisions that's best for themselves and their families. As they wage this war, they're putting our economy and, most importantly, the health of millions at risk. Now, in my home state of California, Planned Parenthood operates 117 centers that provide critical health care services to more than 800,000 Californians. Health care services like cancer screening, STI testing, contraception, family planning. In 2013, California's Planned Parenthood clinics conducted more than 93,000 Pap tests and more than 97,000 breast cancer exams. So make no mistake, you know this, these tests save lives by detecting cancer early when it's most treatable. So Republicans are trying to take all of this away from our women. We're not going to let that happen. It's outrageous what they're doing. It's reckless, and it's downright wrong. And so I'm here today to join you once again, because this has been continuing over the years, and stand with you and stand united against this brinkmanship tactics that risk lives and endanger our future. Thank you again.
I'm Bonnie Watson Coleman from the 12th District in New Jersey, and I know what it's like to have a governor who wants to defund Planned Parenthood because he spent 5 years doing that. But I just left a hearing with Cecile Richards, who is doing a marvelous job while she is being bullied and disrespected. And I'm going to tell you something. This hearing and these decisions don't have anything to do with a collection of fetal tissue, has nothing to do with, and the questions were, does Planned Parenthood really need money from the federal government, or does it already have a lot of money? And it has nothing to do with the work that Planned Parenthood does. It has to do with two things. Number one, it is a war on women and our right to choose. But number two, it is a further illustration of the dysfunction of this Republican-controlled Congress, that instead of doing the work that needs to be done to create an economic environment in which we all can thrive, they would rather deflect our attention on something that the Supreme Court and laws have already upheld. To the people who are here standing with Planned Parenthood today, let us recognize that we're standing up against tyranny unlike we've not seen in a long time, ill-informed, ill-advised, and mean-spirited. This dysfunctional Republican conference can't figure its way into governing and doing that which is better for everybody. Instead, it wastes our time and taxpayers' money on issues that have already been addressed. Well, look ahead. We are women, and we will stand up against that wherever we are.
I'm Lofgren. I represent a district in San Jose, California. In San Jose today, women are going into Planned Parenthood, getting Pap smears, getting cancer care, getting prenatal care, and living a normal life. Here in Washington, Republicans are trying to take that down. Republicans in the House don't have a clue about the real world. We stand with Planned Parenthood. They're not going to get away with this.
I'm Diana DeGette. I'm the co-chair of the Pro-Choice Caucus, and I want to thank, you can cheer for the Pro-Choice Caucus because everybody knows it. I want to thank Congresswoman Congresswoman DeLauro for convening this meeting, and I might make one small suggestion. The suggestion I would make is rather than focus on shutting down Planned Parenthood, the Republican majority might focus on avoiding shutting down the U.S. government in less than 36 hours. That would be my suggestion. I will tell you that Planned Parenthood gives health care services to 2.7 million women every year, and we are not going to let those services stop, period. End of question. Thank you.
I'm Donna Edwards. I represent the 4th Congressional District in Maryland. And quite simply, I stand with Planned Parenthood because I know that, like millions of women across the country, I was one of those who had to go to Planned Parenthood for services when I couldn't go anyplace else. It was Planned Parenthood that gave me the ability to take care of my own health care at my own choosing with my own doctor. I stand with Planned Parenthood and with millions of women across this country because we are going to say no to shutting down government, yes to creating jobs and opportunity, yes to making sure that we pay our bills, and no to defunding the government over defunding Planned Parenthood. I stand with Planned Parenthood.
Good afternoon. I'm David Cicilline from the 1st District of Rhode Island. Very proud to be here to stand with Planned Parenthood. Millions of women rely on Planned Parenthood and their families for access to quality health care. Many of us thought this issue of denying women control over their own bodies, their own reproductive health, had been settled decades ago. That fight has been ended, and we have to ensure that Planned Parenthood not only remains funded, but that women continue to have full control over what happens to their own bodies. I'm proud to be here, proud to stand with Planned Parenthood.
I'm Chris Van Hollen from the great state of Maryland. Thank you all for being here. And to Rosa DeLauro, thank you for bringing us together. We stand with Planned Parenthood. We are here to say we're not going to allow a group of ideological extremists here in the United States Capitol to deny quality health care services to the American women in Maryland and across the country. It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen ever. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen ever. We got to make sure it doesn't happen ever. So these extremists, they're entitled to their own views, but here's what they're not entitled to. They're not entitled to their own facts. They're not entitled to doctor and manipulate things to mislead the American people. They're not entitled to waste millions of dollars on taxpayer money on misleading hearings, and they're not entitled to try and impose their views on the American people by shutting down the United States government. They're not entitled to anything like that. We're going to stop them. We're going to stand with Planned Parenthood. Let's make sure we do that today, tomorrow, and always. God bless all of you. We'll get done.
Thank you. Again, Dawn be back up here, and we have our colleague from the Senate. The House members are going off to vote, and you can count on us to make sure that they will not defund Planned Parenthood. It will stand. Promise you that.
As the Congresswoman says, this is a two-front war in the House and the Senate, so we had to get one of our Senate champions, Senator Dick Blumenthal from the great state of Connecticut. And I'd like to just say, you know, he used to be an attorney general. Now he's our general. Please welcome him.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so proud to be from Connecticut. And I am proud to be in the United States Senate, where we have defeated 9 times efforts to defund Planned Parenthood. And we're going to continue to fight this battle because, surprise, it's not only about women. It is about women's rights and about women's choice. It's about families. It's about family planning. It's about families where moms and sisters and daughters can have cancer that's detected, and STI, and all kinds of screening and health care, prenatal care. This is about women's health care. We need to stop the Republican attack on women's health care. It is a disservice to our nation, and they should know better. Thank you. And we are going to continue to fight this battle. I want to just close by saying how grateful I am, really, to all of you who are here. You don't know how important it is for us to know that there are warriors in this battle, that there are troops and boots on the ground, that you're behind us, that there are voices and faces. You are the voices and faces of women's health care in America. And I am proud to stand with you and proud to stand with Planned Parenthood, and I always will. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
You guys are the faces of women's health care, but we have some real faces of women's health care, people who have been to Planned Parenthood, who really tell their stories, and that's why we're here. And I'm proud to start with Grecia Maldonado, who is a patient at Planned Parenthood, who is going to come up and tell her story.
Good afternoon. My name is Grecia Magdaleno, and I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I am a Mexican-American, first-generation college student. I'm a proud queer Latina and a proud Planned Parenthood patient. When my family and I were dropped from our health insurance when I was a teenager and I was denied Arizona's state health insurance, Planned Parenthood was there for me. I sought them out and they worked with me to get the exact care I needed. The Planned Parenthood staff was very warm, they welcomed me, and they genuinely cared about my well-being. They asked me specific questions that no other healthcare provider had ever asked me before because they wanted to give me the best care that they could. I literally had no money in my pockets and I didn't know what to expect, but Planned Parenthood helped me get financial assistance. I got the health care I needed and Planned Parenthood didn't expect anything out of me. That's when I knew that Planned Parenthood practices what they preach. They care no matter what. Planned Parenthood has changed my life in ways I never thought they could. Not only have their health services helped me, but their organization as a whole has allowed me to finally come out as a queer woman of color. They stand with me on issues that matter, and they support my identity in such a personal way that is so empowering to me. Politicians who want to take away our access to Planned Parenthood clearly don't know how important Planned Parenthood is to people across the country, or how high the quality of the care is at their health centers. Planned Parenthood has never let me down, not one single time, and that's why I'm here to unapologetically stand with them today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to introduce from Brooklyn, New York, Natasha McQueen.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natasha McQueen. I'm from Brooklyn, and thanks to our early cancer screening at Planned Parenthood, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I was 33 years old when I noticed 2 lumps on my left breast during my monthly self-exam, so I immediately called my gynecologist at Planned Parenthood and scheduled an appointment. So when I came in for my exam, my gynecologist examined my breast, and she definitely noticed that there was something suspicious, so she gave me a referral for my first mammogram. That was the first time I had a mammogram ever. I was 33 at the time, so typically doctors don't give you a mammogram until you're 40. So she knew I definitely needed that. I had my mammogram that day, and I had an ultrasound the same day, and 2 days later I had my biopsy. After a long week of stress and anticipation, I got my diagnosis back, and it came back positive. I was actually in complete shock when I got my diagnosis. Number one, because I was so young. Number two, no one in my family ever had breast cancer. My cancer was stage 1, but it was actually grade 3, which is quite aggressive. So a couple of months later, I had my mastectomy, followed by hormone treatment, which I had for 5 years, also reconstruction. So recently, I learned that my cancer is complete remission, so it's been 7 years. So because of my early cancer screening and the treatment that I got at Planned Parenthood, I'm able to say that my cancer is in remission, and I got the care that I needed, and my situation actually probably would have been much worse than it was. So I'd hate to think what could happen to a lot of other women if they're not able to get their cancer screenings. A lot of women don't have insurance and they're unable to pay for these services, so they may delay their treatment. Their cancer may progress, so these services are definitely needed. How many women won't get their diagnosis until it's too late? I call on Congress to ensure that no woman is cut off from the life-saving care that she needs and that her family depends on. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to hear from one of our great allied leaders, Sasha Bruce, Senior Vice President of Campaigns and Strategy from NARAL.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sasha Bruce, and I'm proud to stand here today representing the members of NARAL Pro-Choice America. First of all, let's give it up for all of the members we heard from today. They represent just a fraction of the people that are actually standing up and fighting for women's ultimate freedom, the freedom over our own body and autonomy. But let's take a moment today to talk about the people actually leading the Center for Medical Progress and the highly deceptive videos and flat-out false claims that are being discussed across the street. Their president, David DeLauro, when he had the chance to comment on an anti-abortion activist being convicted of attempting to bomb a church in Texas, DeLauro defended those violent actions. Their chairman of the board, Troy Newman, who said proudly that it's justifiable to murder a doctor if they perform abortions. These are the men that are trying to strip women of their reproductive freedom. But while these true radicals are not the kinds of people who Americans want making their healthcare decisions, they are the ones that this anti-choice Congress have chosen to stand with as they continue to drive forward their obsession with abortion at all costs, even at stopping and shutting down the government. But let the record show who this anti-choice Congress is standing against. They're standing against the millions of women who have walked through the doors of a Planned Parenthood, including myself and so many of you. And they're standing against the 7 in 10 Americans who want nothing to do with this witch hunt. This Congress might be the majority in DC today, but they do not reflect the majority of Americans. NARAL is proud to stand with Planned Parenthood today and every day, with women and with the 2 million activists whose petitions we're delivering that say we are the majority and enough is enough. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up our final patient voice, the amazing Stephanie Ann Diaz from Miami, Florida.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Ann Diaz, and I'm here from my hometown, Miami, Florida. I stand with Planned Parenthood and always will. As a college student living away from home, I had to figure out a lot of things on my own, especially when it came to my health care. Thankfully, Planned Parenthood was there to help me. As a college student, I didn't have any health insurance and I was on a tight budget. So at 21, when I needed my annual pap test, the only reason I was able to get one was because of Planned Parenthood for offering it at an affordable cost. I was young. I thought everything would be fine. However, that wasn't the case. My pap test came back abnormal and I needed to have a biopsy. Once again, Planned Parenthood was there again. But they offered so much more than just cancer screening and detection. They offered compassion. When I came in for my biopsy, I was clearly nervous, scared, and alone. The Planned Parenthood health manager helped me and held my hand throughout the entire procedure when she didn't have to. The politicians who are attacking Planned Parenthood are not just attacking women's access to affordable health care. They're attacking women's access to supportive, caring healthcare providers who have to make and who have gone beyond to make sure I was cared for and I was comfortable. And for that, I am forever, forever grateful. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. Thank you.
Our final speaker today, I think, really brings home for us. I see the poster of her organization, Hold It Up, URGE, which we are here today uniting for reproductive and gender equity. And Samaria Johnson is a leader today and a leader for tomorrow, and she's going to wrap us up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samaria Johnson. I am a recent graduate of the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, and I am here representing URGE, and I am a supporter of Planned Parenthood. So for me, Planned Parenthood means safety and it means reassurance. When I was 17, 5 years ago, I had a pregnancy scare only a month after having sex for the first time with my boyfriend of 6 months. And I was a star student on track to graduate at the top of my class, and attend college on a full ride. I was terrified of what my family would think and what it would mean for my education and my future. But one thing I was absolutely, positively certain of, if my pregnancy scare resulted in an abortion, and if my pregnancy scare resulted in a pregnancy, I was going to receive an abortion and I was going to go to Planned Parenthood for that abortion care. So up until that point, I had relied on Planned Parenthood as my #1 resource. It had been the first place I looked to for the kind of birth control I wanted to use, for advice about how to talk to my boyfriend about sex, and for the first real questions I had about my bisexuality. And when I had my pregnancy scare, it was, of course, the first place I turned to. It was accessible, it was affordable, and most of all, Planned Parenthood respected me as a person, and as a minor especially, who was capable of making my own decisions about healthcare. It turned out that I was not pregnant, but I will never forget how I felt that one week in September 5 years ago. And because I hope that Planned Parenthood will be there for the 17-year-olds in my situation in the future, I will continue to be a supporter of Planned Parenthood. And now I thank every single one of you for showing up today here at the Capitol. And I have every bit of faith that we will be victorious on this day for ourselves, our families, and our communities. Thank you.
That would be the end of the press conference. Thank you.